Chapter 4. Nature. Bella's irritation with me regarding the Victoria incident seemed to dissipate over the next few days. While I was thrilled to be back in her good graces, her change in mood wasn't entirely without a downside. As her anger wavered, her anxiety grew. She tried to hide it from me, and I knew there had never been a time when she was more thankful of my inability to read her thoughts. There were signs, though, signs that were hard to ignore. At first, she acted as if the fact that she was once again being stalked by a deranged vampire was nothing out of the ordinary, something to be expected even. She shrugged it off and went about her day in a fairly normal manner. However, as the days passed, I sensed a subtle change. She was startled more easily by sudden sounds and movements, though there wouldn't likely be such a prelude to the type of attack she was in danger of. She was restless at night, her breathing more ragged and her speech more disjointed than usual. She never looked fully rested when she awoke. I'd also noticed that she held me closer, both at night and during the day. I was certain it was an unconscious gesture, so I didn't say anything. I was more than happy to give her whatever extra feeling of security I could offer, and the last thing I wanted was for her to feel embarrassed by needing it. She had done a fairly good job of hiding her fears from my family, with the exception of Jasper, of course, who tried to make me feel better by assuring me she was growing more relaxed and confident when she was with us all. It was why I was completely stunned when Friday night, during one of our evening visits, she declared very firmly that she believed it was a bad idea to remain human any longer. All eyes turned abruptly to Bella, as a low growl escaped my chest. Alice flitted casually to my side. "A little warning would have been nice," I muttered under my breath.
"Don't worry, nothing's going to happen tonight. She's just nervous, that's all. She'll listen to us, I promise."
"There are 7 of us, Bella, and with Alice on our side, I don't think Victoria's going to catch us off guard," Carlyle told her. Alice grinned smugly and went to stand by Bella's side.
"I think it's important, for Charlie's sake, that we stick with the original plan."
"We'd never allow anything to happen to you, sweetheart," Esme added kindly. Glancing toward me for a moment, her words were as much a promise to me as they were to Bella. "You know that. Please don't be anxious." Esme kissed her on the forehead lovingly, and Bella blushed. "Your girl's really cute when she's all embarrassed," Emmett thought wryly, and I hissed nearly inaudibly at him as he broke into quiet laughter. "I'm really glad Edward didn't kill you," he told Bella, still chuckling. "Everything's so much more fun when you're around."
"Oh yeah, this is how I wanted to spend my evening, talking the human out of immortality again, and I thought eternity was monotonous before." Rosalie was staring daggers at Emmett, who seemed completely oblivious, still too amused by the whole conversation. Bella turned pleadingly to Alice, probably hoping to exploit her obvious desire to have Bella as an official member of the family, but Alice simply rolled her eyes. "I'm offended. You're not honestly worried about this, are you? If it's no big deal, then why did Edward drag me to Florida?"
Bella turned to look at me, a hint of frustration lurking behind her mostly composed exterior.
"Haven't you noticed yet, Bella, that Edward is just the tiniest bit prone to overreaction?"
I sighed indignantly. Overreaction indeed. None of them understood how hard it was to sit by day after day and watch Bella, fragile and mortal, wondering what the next catastrophe would be. They all had the luxury of virtually indestructible mates, and couldn't possibly fathom what that kind of fear felt like.
"Relax, Edward,"
Alice thought, staring at me pointedly.
"Or better yet, let's help Bella relax."
With a warm smile, Alice gripped Jasper's arm and whispered softly to him. He looked at me, then at Bella, and gave Alice the tiniest of nods as he took a deep breath. Almost immediately, I heard Bella's racing heart return to normal. A content smile captured her face, and she turned to me with nothing but love and trust in her eyes. "You are safe with us, Bella," Carlyle promised. "You are part of this family, and we will always protect you, no matter what." She turned her gentle, relaxed stare to Carlyle and thanked him as I took her hand in mine. "See, there's nothing to worry about," I whispered, kissing her cheek as my thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. A part of me wanted to keep her there under Jasper's calming influence, but it was getting late, and I knew she needed to get home. We'd barely made it out of the driveway before Bella's expression shifted back to one of anxiety. "Bella, love, you're perfectly safe," I told her, before she could even get the words out. Her brow pulled together as she looked over at me, and I smiled, bringing her hand up to kiss it. I'm never going to let anything happen to you. Alice is on constant guard. We'll know the moment Victoria is planning to return, and next time we won't let the wolves distract us from what's really important. She will not get away from us again." I tried my best to keep the ire out of my voice, as I thought about how close my family had come to taking care of the problem. Deep down I knew it was a simple mistake, but I couldn't help but blame the pack's temper for Victoria's escape.
"Still," Bella whispered, her eyes glazed over as she stared nervously out the window, "it seems ridiculous to put it off. We've already agreed my change is going to happen."
She didn't look at me, probably because she knew what she would see. My teeth were clenched, and my knuckles were gripping the steering wheel. I would never accept her change as imminent the way she did. Until her heart beat for the last time, I would hold on to her humanity and cherish it like the gift it was. "If you know you're safe," I said, speaking as calmly as I could manage, "then there's no need to rush into anything."
"I know we said after graduation, but every day we wait is one more day we're tempting fate," she argued, turning to look me in the eye.
"That's between you and Carlyle." Then I thought of the one thing I knew for sure would end the conversation. Smiling sincerely, I added, "Of course, you know I'm willing to make it between you and me any time that you wish. You know my condition." I heard her heart jump and stutter as her eyes widened and returned to the window. Every day since we'd returned to Florida, I had found myself thinking about my absurd proposal, and I suddenly berated myself for bringing it up again. She deserved so much better, and I planned to give it to her, though the fear in her eyes at the very mention of marriage did shake my confidence to some extent. Would it really make a difference where or how I said it? Would it matter to her if I whisked her away to our meadow and proposed underneath the glorious rays of the sun? Would she care that it was my mother's ring I held in offering, the single tie I had to my human past, and the only object I deemed beautiful enough to place on her finger? Would my declaration of love and eternal devotion silence her fears? I would give her all I had to give, yet I had no way of knowing if it was enough. It was with this thought that I parked the car and walked her to the front door. I could hear Charlie pacing inside, though we were nowhere near her curfew. "See you in a few minutes," I whispered, kissing her softly before making my way around the house to her window. Bella and Charlie engaged in their normal evening small talk, and while he remained as oblivious as usual, I could tell she was nervously rushing the conversation. Less than 10 minutes had passed before she yawned and said she was going to bed. She climbed the stairs with deliberately heavy feet, and I laughed to myself at her tactics. Not quite ready to let her sleep, I settled into her rocking chair and waited for the door to open. All signs of her earlier tension gone, she grinned widely at me as she quickly crossed the room and came to sit in my lap. I rocked us silently while running my fingers through her silky hair, and she sighed into my shoulder. After a few minutes, she peeked up at me through her lashes and reached a finger out to trace the shadows under my eyes.
"I've been taking up too much of your time," she whispered.
"Not possible," I said firmly, kissing the top of her head.
"You've gone too long without hunting."
"I'm fine. Don't worry about me."
"You should have gone last weekend, but you were babysitting me," she mumbled, pouting slightly.
"I was taking you for a long overdue visit with your mother, and I was happy to do so." She looked at me skeptically, and I rolled my eyes. "If it would ease your worry, I'm going to the park for a few hours with Jasper and Emmett tomorrow." She paused for a moment, as if deciding something very important.
"Has Alice seen any sign of Victoria coming back to Forks?"
she asked, a little more casually than I would have expected. "No, there's no indication she's anywhere near here."
"Then it's settled. You're taking a real hunting trip tomorrow."
"Bella, there's no need."
"Yes, there is. It's been a long time since you've gone anywhere besides the park, and I know you're tired of it. Besides, I've made up my mind, which means Alice probably already told the guys about it, and I'm sure they're both very excited."
She looked at me defiantly, challenging me to argue with her logic. When I sighed and nodded, she smiled triumphantly and resumed her position curled up against me.